I'm back, chapter 6. So I did a survey and you guys want longer videos, and I thought, oh my gosh, you keep rambling on. So okay, here it comes. So we did Q&A yesterday. Today I want to go back to, I took some notes. Talk about lifestyle. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the lifestyle that we lived when we lived on the Aldea Avenue. So Aldea Avenue is the house that my mom, remember, owned and that he moved into. And then if you guys remember, I said he was looking into a bigger home, and that one is on Mason Avenue. So that one we'll get to. So I'm going to stick to Aldea Avenue because that is the home where I feel my stepdad molded us and prepared us for what was coming. Now, I feel that if he didn't come into my mom's life, that her and I would have had a chance together. But unfortunately, it's not her fault either. She just never had any luck with any men, which is crazy because she had such a great dad, such a great relationship with him. My grandpa is the best. Another man, I could tell you that he's a role model, but he didn't live with us. But I stayed connected to him my whole life, or I should say his whole life. But okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about the lifestyle that we lived and how my mom really wasn't able to raise me like how I'm raising my children. She pretty much didn't really have control. Like if I was 10 years old, she would just leave me at home. Now remember that my brother was born when I was 10. So, it got easier for her because then now she knows that I would be with him. And so we would be at home. But then a lot of times I want you guys to know that we were taken everywhere. So how it began was it started off with like it was fun. My stepdad is like, he's running nightclubs, and it was fun. Yeah, obviously, I was a little girl and liked being around entertainers and that lifestyle and didn't have to go do my homework, didn't have to go after school anywhere. I had a different lifestyle than most of my friends, but not the friends of the entertainer friends and my mom's circle of friends. So as an example, I'll give you like a few examples of like how we were as children. So my 13-year-old, I watch everything she does. So imagine, I'll give you a story. I was 12 years old, and we were all at my mom and dad's house, my mom and dad's friend's house, which, by the way, remember that I'm also friends with all their friends, the kids. So we were all in the room, and obviously we were in one of the mafia friends, because this entire home was filled with guns everywhere. And like the younger boy that was my friend, so I was friends with the two sisters and the brother. The brother was probably like 14. I was 12. I can't remember. The sisters were a little older because I started hanging out with them. So they were probably in their teens, like 19, 20. And we all decided that we were going to take these guns and play with them. Yeah, real guns. We were playing with real guns. No one was with us. And I'll never forget, my friend, Reza, picks up the gun, a big rifle, and he points it at me. And he said, what if there was a real bullet in it? And he like pulls it and he shoots. He shoots. And there was a real bullet in it. The bullet passed me, and it went through the window. And I just remember we all freaked out. And yeah, the parents ran upstairs to see what happened. They actually thought it was funny. Yeah, I think my mom maybe freaked out for a minute, but I don't remember being like taken home or being punished. For instance, every time she had, so I want to also tell you that I grew up with parties every day. No, not weekends, every day. And let's say my dad had like these two guys that worked for him, which they changed often, but we had the same ones too. All of a sudden, it would be like, here. So I literally had to call everybody uncle. Now, I don't want to make Iranians mad at me, but my Iranian family said it's not nice for me to call them by name. They are our family. They are in our circle. So they're uncles. So I had like million uncles. Like everybody was uncle and auntie. Everybody was uncle and auntie. I think a lot of different cultures have that. Indians also have that where, you know, it's a respect thing, but it's always a one-way respect thing. So we had a lot of that. What was I getting at?
In the house, a lot of guns.
Oh, no.
Friends.
Yeah, friends.
Yeah, guns, shooting.
So basically, I wanted you guys to understand that our household was filled with different people, strangers, but they would end up staying there like for weeks. Yeah, okay, so I get it. You have friends that stay with you, but these are like weird people. So I basically was raised in a house with different people all the time. Now, my mom had a really good heart. So, for instance, if anybody needed a place to stay, they can come. So a lot of the Iranian family that I have, even, here's the amazing thing about my mom. I want to say some nice things about her. She even allowed my cousins from my real dad to come and stay with her, or anybody, like his sisters, or she pretty much always has an open door policy, and everybody knows that, and there's always food and money, and you'll just be spoiled, because that way my mom always has a guaranteed party. Does that make sense? Like there's got to always be a party. There's always got to be something going on. She's never really wanted to deal with her life. Now, her parties are fine, but now we're mixed in with this guy. Now the parties are screwed up. So I'll give you like examples of, he bought a few nightclubs and I would go to these nightclubs. So as like 11 and 12 and 13 years old, I was raised in nightclubs. For instance, at 3, 4 in the morning is when I was leaving these parties. And most likely I was being carried, to the car. And because they didn't want to miss out on the after parties, which are, those things that go on, I would be carried into people's homes. Now I know why I never want my kids to sleep anywhere. Like if you talk to my kids, they'll tell you that they don't do sleepovers anywhere. Because you guys, the craziest stuff have happened to me at other people's homes. A lot of my molestation has happened because my mom randomly would leave me sleeping in a room. Who's gonna protect me there? Anyway, don't get me started. So, I think I also told you guys about the molester, the guy, that singer. Thank God it was only one Persian singer who's ever done that to me, so I can assure you of that. I've been around not the newer generation, but I'm just saying, like, thank God it wasn't that corrupted, but more my dad's, those bad guy friends of his, you know which ones, the circle of trust. The ones that he trusted the most were the ones that hurt me the most. I almost said something I don't want to go into. Okay. So I actually took some notes of things that I wanted to remind to tell you. So I told you the gun. So I also told you that I'm now going to nightclubs. So what does that mean? That means that now I'm getting adjusted to this lifestyle. Like I like it. I like the thought of drugs, alcohol, this is not alcohol. For instance, I'll give you an example. So my mom is a smoker. So when I was about 10 years old, guess what I did? I started practicing smoking. As a matter of fact, she kind of knew, but she also thought it was funny. Like, we would freak out. My mom just doesn't understand that kind of stuff, you guys. It's more like I'm her friend. You know what I mean? It's not like, I don't even know how to explain it. But anyway, so the nightclub things were crazy. Do you know something really crazy? That my dad, even though he was in the Persian industry and the Persian type, gang, he actually started getting friendly with other gangs, which I think made his head so big that he actually bought another house that became, well, behind the scenes, it was the house that he could do things behind my mom's back, number one. A lot of organized crime things happened, like deals there. But the excuse was that it was a house for the TV, because they needed, they used different rooms for different things, for filming. Studio. Yeah, exactly. It's a studio. But oh boy. So now my stepdad is now involved with all these bad people, but on the other side, it's like the Persian entertainers. And now he's starting to bring entertainers from Iran. So like entertainers that are like in trouble in Iran, the women are not allowed to sing, they're not allowed to dance, because of the regime. So now he's speaking against the regime. So now he needs to grow a gang, because guess what? Iran is after him, like the government. And every time he would put out the TV, it was always against the regime. So at least that, we got to give him that. Good job, Q. He did speak against the regime. But it was more for selfish reasons. It was for clout, as you would say today. And it was for him to get to these women, because the affairs began. And, all these Persian entertainers, and then the dancers. So now, going back to nightclub life, the little girl that has to be raised in this nightclub life, boy, did I grow up fast. Obviously I did. I got married, right? 9 days after I turned 16 years old. But I always thought that was just my personality. Like, oh my God, you're kind of mature for your age. No, you're not. You're not mature for your age. I have a daughter that's mature for her age. She's not mature in that way. So being molested by a man opens up the door of you now wanting to pick the man that you want to be with, because, the emotions, when you're touched. So for instance, I was also molested by my stepdad's nephew, who actually lived with us. He was at least 20 years older than me, at least. Okay, maybe not that much, 15 years older than me. And he came to live with us. And he was out of control molesting me. And I couldn't say anything, especially, I'll tell you what happened though, when his brother came to this country. His brother actually noticed that there was something going on. His brother, I think, did something to him, because it all stopped. So, like, I had people that came in and saw, and still, like, we couldn't tell my parents. You know what I mean? So when you hear that people are molested and they never talked, you don't. You don't talk about it. You just don't. So the dirty lifestyles of these nightclubs caused a lot of corruption in my mind. I was, I think the first time I went to a casino here in Los Angeles, I was about 15. Now remember, I was voluptuous. I had, I did my hair big and makeup, and I had curves. So I easily could get into these places. So I really just started growing up too quickly, and the parties at the Aldea Avenue home definitely were not as bad as the ones that get worse, but those parties are dangerous, you guys. Those are the parties I want you to protect your children from. You know, you can't just leave your kids hanging out. You got to keep your eyes. Those guys that are Uncle Joe and Uncle Mike, watch them. Okay, obviously not all of them, but you know what I mean. The ones that are like, come and sit on my lap, you know, those kind of guys. Yeah. So, what else do I want to tell you guys? So should we move on? Maybe we should move forward for me to tell you about, told you the gun, parties, nightclubs, demonstrations, me going to a lot of demonstrations. And that is when I saw a lot of my dad's crime, like where they would burn people. I don't remember the details, but I do know he was part of like getting rid of people here. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I know for sure, because if it was like Uncle Joe was here yesterday, Uncle Joe wasn't here again, and then Uncle Joe never was talked about. So that there was a lot of that going on. Okay, so let's go back to talking a little bit more about the different random people that are coming to our home. So here's another thing I want you guys to remember. Here I am, this little girl, and now on her own a lot. So I actually got myself into a lot of trouble, because remember that I'm being raised by this crazy dad that wants me to be aggressive. I'm learning to lie, manipulate, steal, interested in drugs. I'm just interested in all the bad things now, because they opened those doors for me. I knew down deep inside I'm a good person, but I also knew that now I'm the daughter of a mafia guy. I'm a gangster. Like, I felt like I needed to be, like, if I did that, he would like me and he would love me. So I started going towards that direction. As a matter of fact, like boys, like I got really interested in boys. So I think it's disgusting that my mom did not watch me at 11 and 12 years old and left the doors open for me being molested by different people, touching me, doing things that, you know, a little girl shouldn't even know what it is, but I already knew. So that's why I'm here, because I'm definitely going to be helping a lot of young people when they watch this and they are like, hey, I'm being touched. They know that they can come to me and talk to me. So, and another thing is I want you guys to know that this podcast that I'm doing, I'm not advertising it. It started on TikTok and it just kind of built from there. I haven't even involved really my other social media and platforms, because I like the intimacy of it and me being able to share these stories with you. Who knows what's going to happen when, you know, I sell the story. They'll twist, they'll churn it. I want you guys to know the truth, because the truth will help you. You know, the truth helps you. When I talk to people and they're like, hey, Netta, I went through that. I wish I had someone back then. So all the younger girls, okay, so like imagine if I'm 12, I was hanging out with 20. My first, just to give you a little idea about me, so my first concert was Motley Crue. I was 13 years old. 13 years old. I went with two 20-year-old girls that were the sisters to the boy with the guns. So obviously we were hanging out with them a lot. They took me to parties where I learned how to smoke cigarettes, drink, and my mom loved it. She was so happy that I was with these girls, because now she can go and do whatever she needed, and at least I'm with girls, you know, because now she doesn't have to worry about me being molested, because not that she believed me, but if I did tell her I was being touched or somebody did something that was uncomfortable, she'd always tell me, oh, it happened to me too. So, you know, you just don't say it, because it's embarrassing anyway. It's embarrassing. So I'm like going to parties with these girls, hanging out with these, like, it's fine, you're 20 years old. You should be doing that, but I shouldn't be doing that. So I was already learning to be with boys. So yeah, when I did get married at 16 years old, obviously, yeah, I knew how to be with a man because I was already trained. So, give you another story, a crazy story of another trauma in my life. So, back to Dad's arrest. So, Q was set up. Oh, I want to tell you something else before that. Okay, this family that we hang out with a lot, our dads were drug friends. So I think they were drug dealers together that did drugs together. So they were like they were the best friends, the guys that did drugs. So I want you guys to know that one day my mom's house was robbed. Okay, so think of this. My stepdad owns a Persian TV and he has hundreds of employees. There's 2 employees particular that work for my dad that people know them. To get to my dad, you would have to talk to these people. These were really nice men and I knew them. So we trusted them. So if they called us or if they came to our door, we instantly opened the door. Otherwise, I was always told you're not allowed to open the door to anybody until we look in the camera, all this stuff. It was like a whole thing. So what happens is they know that my dad, every Friday, I remember this, you guys, he'd bring home a suitcase that was filled with like the money you see in movies, like piles of money in that suitcase, and people would come and he'd put piles and piles, on the table. And I remember, because that was my happy day, when Q was giving away money, he liked it. It was powerful. That's when he got his ego filled. So I liked it too, because he gave us money too. Otherwise, he was cheap to us, just so you know. Yeah, he'd buy his friend the Rolex, and then me, whatever, the cheapest watch you can find. Because they would go talk about him and, make him be a bigger person. So what happens is another rival wants to rob my dad. So what they do is they go to my dad's studio. They go with guns, raid the studio. They bring 2 of the guys, the 2 guys that work for my dad, the main 2 guys. They come to our house. They knock on the door. My mom opens the door. Why? Because it's them. Now, keep in mind, I'm in my mom and my stepdad's room sleeping. For some reason, I slept in their room in the bed that night. My little brother is in the room with the maid. My stepbrother is now here. That is Q's son from another woman. And so he's here too. So we're all sleeping. This happened around 2 or 3 in the morning. So my mom opens the door. Anyway, this 5 men walk in. You guys, this is another reason I know for sure I have God with me a lot. I never woke up. But they literally turned this home upside down. Now, keep in mind, I was sleeping in the room that the most action happened. You guys, I remember the craziest things. My dad's closet was a really big walk-in closet. I was sleeping in their bed, a really cool bed with a radio. Really fancy stuff. Hi, Angus. Angus is here. So, long story short, these people end up in the room that I'm sleeping. I never wake up. Literally make my dad empty out the safe. Took all his money. I don't know what else they took there, but they were in that room, you guys, for hours, my mom told me later. Now, keep in mind that my poor mom is tied up. Q is being walked around with a gun. My stepbrother is tied up. The maid is tied up. I'm the only person in this entire house that's still in the bed sleeping. Gone. Okay. This robbery happens for hours. The next morning, I wake up. You guys, I get out of the room. This is going to give you an example of my life. And I'm like, okay, my dad definitely has killed my mom. Like, you know, I haven't even told you about the abuse yet. But yeah, he's already started the abuse. So I thought, oh my God. Oh my God. He's listening. Oh my God. What happened? Mom, anybody home? Nobody's home. So the maid comes to me with my little brother. My stepbrother comes out and he's like, oh my God, you didn't wake up? We were robbed. What? Where's my mom? Oh, they left. What do you mean they left? Oh, they left after the robbery because they realized the robbers are not going to come back. You know where they went? They went to that guy's house so my stepdad could do drugs because they were stressed. What? You left? You left? Like, can you even imagine? I remember the feeling of it. What? They left? Yeah, they left. That's just another one of those stories. Thousands of those stories. Mafia stories are coming your way. Okay, so quickly let's go and talk about arrest. Another crazy thing. So I'm at Skateland with my friend. It's about 10 o'clock at night and everything is closed. It's fine, it's closed. I'm used to that. Like, my parents never really cared if a place closed. You waited until they got there. So, I mean, it got scary, you guys. Like, I remember back in the days, payphones. So my friend and I are like in that room. As a matter of fact, this girl that I was in there with is one of the daughters to one of the biggest Persian actors, a comedy actor. I can't tell you who. So we are like scared out of our mind. And my mom is like, I don't know, he was supposed to pick you guys up. So now keep in mind that my stepdad went to pick up a friend from the airport, drop his friend, who's like an uncle to me, at the hotel, and then come and pick us up and take us home. So what happens is, this guy, my uncle, not my real uncle, these are the uncles of my stepdad. My stepdad's friends. Okay. So so this guy calls my dad and says, hey, I just arrived to LAX, and before I go home to my wife, I have picked up a prostitute. Do you mind coming and picking me up and taking me really quick to a hotel? And then from the hotel, I'll just take a cab home. Okay, so my stepdad believes this man because this is my stepdad's like brother. You know, if you're in the mafia or in a gang, you know, like they are your family. Okay, so this story I'm telling you right now is definitely jumping years ahead. But I want to tell you this story because I want to give you an idea of the corruption that I'm going to go back to and talk to you about. So what happens is this guy got in trouble. He's the smaller version of my dad, actually works for my dad. And they were smuggling a big amount of drugs. But my dad wasn't involved with that deal because, you know, he's the big guy. So long story short, FBI said to this guy, if you turn in that guy, they've been wanting Q for a long time. Remember that, because I've jumped ahead now years. I jump ahead because I want you guys just to kind of get the basis of it. So what it is basically they set him up. So my stepdad arrives, the guy comes out, hey, how are you, blah, 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 puts his suitcases in my dad's car. His suitcases, right? He just came from out of the country. Well, those suitcases were, I can't remember how many pounds of cocaine, but it was huge. So that's why I'm going to be I'm going to go back and get his arrest records, all that, so I'll share that with you guys soon. So what happens is he gets arrested. Never shows up to pick us up. Long story short, we get home. But now it's like 3 and 4, 5 in the morning. My mom and I and the whole family, we're in the front part of a living room, like kitchen area, where there's a big window. And this window looks out. And what you can see from this window is our very long driveway. And we're just looking there. No, we weren't looking there. Sorry. We slept there that night, waiting, looking out. But by 4 or 5, I think we all must have fallen asleep. I had a premonition. I jumped up and I said to my mom, oh my God, I just felt like Mom, I feel like there's going to be cops or something outside. And if you know by now, I do readings. And I am clairvoyant, but I did not know I was clairvoyant. I didn't even know what I was seeing. I did see cops. So as I'm talking to her about this, all of a sudden, you guys, we hear helicopters. You guys, one of the most scariest things sights I've ever seen in my life was when I looked and I saw my premonition coming to life. Literally hundreds of cops. Cops, dogs, helicopter, lights. I mean, it was crazy. I remember they had these things in their hands and they slammed into our house. Ready for this? One of my stepbrothers was already emptying out cocaine that was in our garage. I didn't even know he knew. Thank you, God, that he did that. My mom was never really involved with drug dealing. She knew, but she wasn't involved. So when they raided our home, the reason I was not taken away, or nobody was taken away, is because they couldn't find anything in our house. So they couldn't find anything that my mom was affiliated with. But there was so much stuff in the house, later I found out, they didn't find. Somehow, by the way, you remember my uncle, the guy that put my dad in jail? Do you know within this few days that we're trying to get him out of jail, getting him a lawyer, that we get news that he was murdered in jail? So now things are getting crazy. Crazy. My stepdad is in jail, and the guy that put him in jail is dead. What? Okay. Do you get it now? Do you get how disgusting and corrupted he was? And that his whole world was about to fall apart? All those years going back now, the parties, the years of abusing my mom. I mean, wait until I tell you stories of that, with knife and everything. Just imagine that one person, him, just took my mom and my life, and then my brother that came, and his son, and basically didn't care about all those other people that lived there. He just had to live his lifestyle. And we just had to go along with it. Now I know why. Whenever we would go to someone's home, and I definitely felt connected to the mom of that house, I'd always ask if I could stay. That's really sad. I feel bad. I remember wanting to stay at all my mom's friends' homes, the ones that were really warm, nice. Remember that the wives of gangs and the wives of mafia men, they're they don't even know what's going on. They don't. I mean, the things that you see in the movies are basically, it's true. That is basically what you see. But what you don't see is that the little kids that are growing up, and then, oh, you know, yeah, I ended up in gangs. So why did I end up in a gang? Yeah, then it's my fault. So if I'm already 13 years old and I'm at a Motley Crue concert, going to nightclubs, and now, you know, starting to actually learn about playing cards. I like that kind of stuff. Oh, what can I do? What, blah, blah, blah. You know, like all this corrupt thoughts. Shouldn't I have been a kid? Shouldn't I have been worrying more about just like what my Barbie's gonna wear? Now, the good news about me is that I did find ways as a healer. I know as a kid, I found ways to heal myself. So I had my own family on TV. I know you get it if you're one of me. And how all that comes into my life now is crazy. Guys, I can't wait to get to what I do for a living so that I can tell you more about like what's happening now and why I had to go through all of that. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna stop it here and I'm gonna take you to a girl that got married 9 days after she turns 16 years old. And I want you to see this wedding. Over 500 people were at my wedding. Every Persian entertainer was there. Back in those days, it was like Madonna, Prince, Michael Jackson. What were all these people thinking? I'm getting married, a little girl, and then listen to this. I get married in the Islam. I don't understand a word. So when I'm sitting there and this guy is talking, I have absolutely no idea what he's saying. You'll see me go and like ask, like, when am I supposed to say yes? What's going on? Is he ever gonna stop talking? It went on forever, you guys. Do you know how many times I envisioned myself running out of there? All right, so let's go there and I'll narrate a little bit more while we watch the video. Okay, well, here it is. That is me 9 days after I turned 16 years old. Do you see the diamonds I'm wearing? Just please look at my face and just keep your eyes on my face. And this is a Islamic wedding. I feel so frustrated and just don't know how to behave or act. The guy that you see all the way standing behind the guy that's talking, all the way to the left by my mom in the hot pink, that is my real dad. And this is us getting married. The Persian Islamic way, I guess you could say it, or the Muslim. This is a Muslim wedding. I don't want to say it wrong, but that's what it is. Well, looks like I'm a married woman right there. Okay, so this is my dad, and watch the con artist, okay? He's gonna pretend right now for the cameras that he's giving him a gift. He tells the camera guy to look at him, he kisses him, and then we look and there's nothing in his hands. That is my dad. Yeah. He just did that for the camera. By the way, I should also mention that he actually stole about 70% of my wedding gifts and took them back to Iran with him and gave them to family as gifts. And here it is. That is me walking in. Here are all the guests. When I look at the wedding now, I think to myself, oh, there's my little brother, just to get an idea how old he was. What were all these people thinking? But, you know, I also do know that in a lot of different cultures, they get married really young. But arranged marriages are fine. But, you know, at least at a decent age. So that's why I feel that I was forced. So anyway, that's just us. We're going to get through like 500 different guests. You can tell by my behavior, the way I look, I'm uncomfortable. This is a fake, fake, fake smile. Well, guys, there it is. That is a 16-year-old wedding. And it was pretty crazy. And a lot of the people that are at that wedding, I don't even know anymore. But I'm sure they'll remember that one time they actually attended a 16-year-old wedding. And there's my mom dancing with him. So obviously, you know, they liked each other. By the way, they even went out. He went out a lot with my mom because I was a minor and couldn't go. So like when they went to places that were over 21, he would go with my mom and the friends. And that's about it. I'll see you guys for our next chapter.